Hello everyone, and welcome to Anime Life Lessons. Today's episode features Chobits. Chobits is about a young man named Hideki Motosuwa, who, after failing to get into college, has decided to move to Tokyo and go to prep school. Upon arriving in Tokyo, Motosuwa comes across an electronics store which is showcasing Persicoms. Persicoms are mobile computers, which do everything that contemporary computers do, except they look and act just like humans. Motosuwa immediately wants one. However, when he sees the price tag, he freaks out in public and runs away in embarrassment. After settling into his apartment, he heads off to get dinner. On his way back from getting dinner, he finds a Persicom that has been thrown away and decides to keep it. When he turns on the Persicom, all she can say is "Chi," so he decides to name her that. After a while, it starts to become apparent that she is more than your average Persicom. Having much better performance, it seems that Chi might be a Chobit, a type of advanced Persicom that is rumored to have independent thought. Now, what life lessons could possibly come out of this anime, you ask? Well, I'm about to go into detail about that. The first lesson that I feel we can learn from Chobits is the importance of human interaction. What do I mean by that? Well, some people in the Chobit setting have come to prefer spending time with their Persicoms more than other humans. Because Persicoms look, act, and feel just like humans, it becomes hard after a while for some people to differentiate between humans and Persicoms. This can cause a lot of emotional pain and turmoil for the friends and family of those obsessed individuals. This is so painful for some people that their relationships fall apart, which I will touch upon later in this episode. We humans are social creatures, and lack of interaction with other people changes a person, more often than not for the worse. Chobits does a great job, in my opinion, of showing just how badly an electronics obsession can disrupt a person's life. So, the lesson to be learned here is not to hate electronics or never use them, but rather to use them in moderation and never to forget who the real people in your life are. This last lesson is perhaps the biggest lesson to be learned from Chobits, and it's a three-parter. I'm sure some of you have already guessed what it might be. The lesson is about love. Being a romantic comedy, Chobits does have a little bit of a love story going on. So what makes this love story different from any other? The main couple is Hideki and Chi. Chi, as you all know, is a Persicom rumored to have free will and emotions. But the question that is raised very early on in the series is, can a Persicom love? Or can someone love a Persicom? But before I get into that, let me talk about the other love stories in Chobits. First up, let's talk about Hiromu Shinbo and Takako Shimizu. Shinbo is Motosuwa's neighbor and best friend in Tokyo, and also his classmate. Miss Shimizu is their teacher. I'm not going to go into great detail about how that story developed. You're just going to have to watch the series for yourself. What I am going to mention is the conclusion of that story arc involving that relationship. Shinbo and Miss Shimizu are at a hot springs resort because Shinbo has taken Miss Shimizu there to convince her to marry him, which he considers eloping. This wouldn't be a big deal, except that she is already married. Her husband has become obsessed with a Persicom to the point where he puts the chain on their apartment door because he has forgotten that he is married to Takako. The night before they arrived at the hot springs, Shinbo and Shimizu were supposed to actually elope and leave town, but Shimizu chickened out and ended up going to Motosuwa's apartment instead, where she proceeded to get very drunk. After everyone had finally passed out, Shimizu awoke and proceeded to ask a sleeping Motosuwa whether he thought it was wrong of her to fall in love with another man, even though she was married. Just when she thought she wasn't going to get a response, Motosuwa said, and I quote, "Not if you can't help it. It's impossible to control your emotions when you truly fall in love. But that kind of situation is very hard on everyone involved, and the whole thing is very painful for everybody. So since everybody's suffering, it's better to follow your heart and do what's right for you, than to live with confusion. Although Motosuwa doesn't remember giving it, this advice gave Miss Shimizu the courage to go with Shimo. What can we learn from this? Well, follow your heart and do what's best for you. Don't let anyone get in the way of your happiness. Next, let me talk about Yumi and Ueda. Yumi is a girl who Motosuwa gets to know at his job, and Ueda is the owner and manager of the bakery where Chi ends up getting a job. We learn as the story goes on that Yumi and Ueda have a past, and that something drove them apart. During an emotionally charged episode, we learn that Yumi and Ueda fell in love after Yumi started working at the bakery. They had a wonderful relationship until Yumi found out that Ueda had previously been married to a persicom. That persicom, who incidentally was also named Yumi, had passed away after saving Ueda from being hit by a truck and was struck instead. Yumi felt that she was being compared to the persicom Yumi by Ueda, and that was the only reason he had fallen in love with her. After a drama-filled episode that gets both Motosuwa and Chi involved, Ueda finally says to Yumi, and I quote, "I thought I'd never be able to fall in love again, especially that I'd never be able to fall in love with another persicom. But you know, even if you were a persicom, Yumi, I think I would have fallen in love with you anyway." So the lesson to be learned here is that every love, if it is true love, is different and is incomparable to any other love in existence. Finally, I'll return to Chi and Motosuwa's relationship. As I was saying before, a major question that is raised is, can love between people and persicoms exist? Let's start by defining what love is. According to a dictionary, love is 1. A profoundly tender, passionate affection for another person, or 2. A feeling of warm personal attachment or deep affection. Now that we have defined love, let's look at the relationship between Motosuwa and Chi. Motosuwa obviously cares a great deal for Chi, which is evident by the amount he worries about her every time he isn't with her, and the extreme patience he shows when teaching her about the world. He buys her gifts, and refuses to take the money that he feels she rightfully earned by working at the bakery. This behavior towards a persicom is definitely atypical, but Motosuwa doesn't care. Chi also shows evidence of loving Motosuwa. Despite being a persicom, she exhibits behaviors that no other persicom can, such as acting on her own will and expressing emotions. She gets sad when Motosuwa is sad, and is happy when she is with him. All of this points to love. You'll notice that I'm being much more vague about this area of the story, and it's for good reason. This is the main storyline, and I'm not that much of an asshole where I'd ruin the ending for you. So let me give you my final lesson of the video. Love comes in many forms, and any love is better than none at all. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video and picked up a few life lessons along the way. Just remember that these life lessons are things that I took away from the anime, and that you may have gotten something completely different out of it. Let me know in the comments what you took away from Chobits. Also, this is my first YouTube video, but I plan on making more of these episodes. If you have any suggestions for me, feel free to leave a comment. I'd also love to hear what anime you want me to take a look at and try to get some life lessons from. So, until next time.